Good morning, students. As we completed with our test case design techniques, that is, it is divided into two, black box testing and white box testing. Today, we'll be continuing with the black box testing and white box testing in detail. So, what is black box testing? Black box testing is also known as behavioral testing or also known as specification based testing. It's a software testing method. It's one of the software testing method in which internal structure, design, implementation of the item tested is not known to the tester. These tests can be functional or non-functional, though usually functional. So as the diagram shows, there whatever input the tester is giving, that input is being executable for an unexpected output. That is, black box testing gives you an impact that you do not, the tester does not know the structure, the design and the implementation of the product. It just does is that it has to test the cases whatever are being specified. The next is, this method is named so because the software program in the eyes of the tester is a black box inside which one cannot see. This method attempts to find errors in the following categories: incorrect or missing functions, interface errors, errors in data structures or external database access, behavior or performance errors, initialization and termination errors. So this, as the name suggests, that is black box testing. Likewise, the in the eyes of the tester also, it is like a black box. The tester does not know that what is the implementation, what is the design of the product, whatever, but the methods which he is going to apply or the implementations what he is going to do on that particular code are being specified on the basis of following categories of errors. If there are certain errors, and which are those errors? So the first one is incorrect or missing functions. If any function or incorrect value is been there in that function, then the test case for black box testing is being done. Interface error, interface which means which is visible to the user in that particular form. If there is some error, then that is called as interface error. Errors in data structures, the formulas which are being applied, the algorithms are there for data structure. If there is some problem in the data structure formulas, then those are corrected. External database access, the connected database to that particular software is, if that has error, then we do black box testing. Behavior or performance error, behavior here means whatever we are expecting as an output, if we are not getting that same output, then that can be termed as a behavior or performance error. Initialization and termination of errors, initializing means when we write I is equal to 5 or I is less than equal to 5. So this particular term is called as initialization of error. And termination is when we remove that particular error, is called as initialization and termination of error. When we put in certain value and we remove that value once our task is done, that is called as initialization and termination. The next is, my one question which comes into mind is, when I'm writing a black box testing test case, how do I write that test case? Now what is actually written in that? So requirements and specifications are analyzed or examined. So first of all, every stage in the testing case requires requirements and specifications. Requirements is what is required and specified that this is required into it. So specification and requirements are first of all written down. Positive inputs as well as negative inputs will be given to the system to verify. Not only positive values but also wrong values will be given to it, so that in return the system gives us a proper expected output or not is being checked. Outputs or tests will be defined earlier. Outputs for the test, outputs which are being expected, will be checked earlier before the actual output is being driven out. Test cases will be executed every time a new test value can be given to the system to check whether the output is correct or not. Actual outputs and expected outputs will be compared. As explained prior, that actual outputs and expected outputs will always be different, because actual outputs what we are expecting and expected output is depending on the value what we are getting the output. So these both values will be compared while giving up a test case. Fixed issues will be retested. Whatever fixed errors which are coming will be retested at every level or again and again, so that the actual output can be driven out from it. The next is test case template. When we are writing a test case, every test case will have certain templates or certain functions which they have to follow while writing a test case. So first one is the module name. For which module or for which main module or sub module we are writing a test case, that module name should be specified. Next is test case ID. We have to create a test case ID for each test case which we are performing. For example, if I am writing TC underscore UAI underscore 1, that indicates user interface test case hashtag 1. That is, TC here specifies that I have a test case for my user interface, and for which the name of the test case, the number which I am providing, the ID which I am providing is 1. Third is test title name. So I have to give a name to my test case. And for example, if I am writing a test case for my login page, so I am writing as verify the login page with a valid username and password. So this can be a name. You can write any name for the test title so that you can identify at the time of verification. Test summary or description. Describe the test objective in brief. So whatever is your task, what you are expecting, you have to write that particular summary or description for that particular test case. Preconditions means any prerequisite that must be fulfilled before the execution of this test. List all those preconditions in order to execute this test case successfully. For an example, when I say preconditions means if I expect a form to give me an output of name, details of the students, all the certifications what the student has done, so all those things are prerequisite, that is preconditions what I want from that form after successfully test cases are being done or not. So these are the preconditions what we have to note down before writing or before implementing the test cases. Test steps. So there are certain steps of execution. List all the test execution steps in detail. Write steps in order in which they should be executed. Make sure to provide as many details as you can. Whatever the details are there for that test case should be given to the or should be written down, so that while execution it becomes easy to rectify the steps as well as to identify what errors can be there in that test cases. Expected results. What should be the system output after test execution? Describe the expected result in detail, including message error that should be displayed on the screen. Now, once the test cases have started implementing, if there is some error, so there should be some pop-up message which should display on the screen, so that people should understand yes there was some error, or the tester should understand that yes there was some error and we have to rectify that error. And as well as for that, whatever is the expected result, whatever output we want, we are getting that output or not, that is also to be checked, that is given in the expected result. There are many more test case templates, that is post condition, actual result, then description, all those things are there. More test case templates are there, but here I have specified certain 7 tests which are there in the syllabus. If you want, you can write more test case templates also. Test case templates can differ depending on the project or a software which you are developing. The next is techniques of black box testing. So when I say I'm using black box testing, there are certain techniques which are being used. So there are total 3 techniques which we have for this syllabus. You can write many more techniques. There are total 7 to 8 techniques in black box testing. But for our syllabus, I have taken 3, that is which are there in the actual book, that is equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis, and decision table testing. So first one is equivalence partitioning or equivalence class partitioning is a software testing technique that divides the input data of a software into partitions of equivalent data from which test cases can be derived. So as the name suggests, equivalence partitioning. Equivalence means equal. Partitioning means in parts, so that when I am dividing my input data into such parts, I am getting the expected output or not when I am deriving the test cases onto it. So in principle, test cases are designed to cover each partition at least once. So when I am performing test cases, every partition should be tested at least once throughout my project life cycle. This technique tries to define test cases that uncover classes of errors, thereby reducing the total number of test cases that must be developed. An advantage of this approach is reduction in the time required for testing software due to lesser number of test cases. As it becomes easier by dividing it into partitions, what we can do is we can rectify the errors easily, and the time taken for it is very less. It does not require more time, as well as uncover classes of errors. Whichever classes we are creating for our modules, that errors can be also reduced by reducing the total number of test cases, as test cases will be divided into according to the partitions. Equivalence partitioning is typically applied to the inputs of tested component, but may be applied to the outputs in rare cases. Now here, equivalence partitioning is applied to inputs prior, and sometimes in case it can be applied to the outputs as well for checking in rare cases. The equivalence partitions are usually derived from requirement specification for input attributes that influence the processing of test object. Yes, obviously equivalence partitioning is derived from requirement specification. Requirement specification means if I say I have developed a form, I require a text box field into my form. When I'm writing that text box field, this is my requirement that for writing my name into the form, I require a field called as text box. So in that text box, I can only type alphabets from A to Z. Now A to Z are 26 letters. So suppose if I am writing a name called my own name, Prajakta. So for writing Prajakta, I require 8 letters, which can be from A to Z, any letter which I am taking. And in that, if I divide my letters into A to C, one partition, D to F, one partition, so on, I divide my partitions, according to which I have to apply test cases on my text box. So this is called as partitioning, equivalence partitioning. Now, next is boundary value analysis is a software testing technique in which tests are designed to include representatives of boundary values in a range. So here, for example, in this technique, we are saying we need a boundary value, a final value in which I will set a range, and in that range I will specify my value. This is also called as range checking. Equivalence partitioning and boundary value analysis are linked to each other. They are somewhere linked to each other and interconnected, and are generally used together at all levels of testing. All levels of testing, black box testing, these two black box testing techniques are generally used. We'll take an example of, consider the testing software program that takes integers ranging between -100 to plus 100. In such case, 3 sets of valid equivalent partitions are taken, which are negative range, positive range, and those are in 0. So these 3 ranges will have minimum and maximum boundary value, which will give you a range of values. That is, it can be minus 100 to plus 100, it can be minus 101 and 99, it can be minus 99 and 101. So a range is being provided in which the value can be checked by giving certain input values to that particular domain or particular form. The next is decision table testing. So decision table testing is a good way to deal with different combinations of inputs and associated outputs. So I'll give a combination of inputs to my form to check whether I'm getting the expected result or not. So in this, decision table testing are a concise visual representation for specifying which actions perform depending on given conditions. They are algorithms whose output is a set of actions. The information expressed in decision tables could also be represented as decision trees or in a programming language as a series of if, then, else and switch case statements. As you all would have learnt it prior also, that in if case and if else statement or switch case statement, we draw certain algorithms, that is flow charts, to what we say, to represent a particular test case condition. That is, if yes, follow next, if no, the condition is stopped there. So a decision tree or a decision diagram can be drawn to represent a particular input value and output value of a particular form or test analysis. Then the next one is state transition testing. State transition testing, here system can have a finite number of different states. So finite number of means limited number of states, and with that states, with transition from one state to another, it can move from one state to another state, but it will have some set of states only. Such cases are called as state transition testing. You can derive test cases to test every transition drawn in the state transition diagram. You can derive each and every state transition case from that state transition diagram. For example, a simple electronic clock. We'll take an example of an electronic clock. Suppose an electronic clock has 4 states. That is, first one will be display time, change time, display date, change date. That's it. 4 states are there. Now, when I say that change mode button will be there for me, when I'm checking the time, the date will be not displayed. When I'm checking the date, time will not be displayed. So change mode will be between display time and display date, but reset value and set value will be between display time and adjust time, display date and adjust date. So these are the states in which it keeps on moving one by other, so that it can give you a input as well as output, and in the final state it will give me a rectified expected output, that is time or date. So these are the things which are there in state transition. I would provide you with the diagram also of this example in the next lecture or in the next session. The next is white box testing. So after black box testing, the compared we can say replica of testing of black box testing is white box testing. White box testing is a software testing technique in which internal structure, design and coding of software are tested to verify flow of input and output to improve design, usability and security. In white box testing, code is visible to two testers, so it is also called as clear box testing, open box testing, transparent box testing, code based testing and glass box testing. So as in the black box testing, tester does not know what are the functions, what is the design, what is the implementation, what is the requirement. It just knows that it has to put the values and just check the test cases. But as opposite, white box testing does not do with this. White box testing, the tester is well known with the design as well as the structure and the code, and that is the reason it is called as white box. White box testing is also known as clear box testing, as the name suggests, open box testing, transparent box testing, code based testing, or glass box testing. So as there is a diagram that there is an application code, you have test case inputs and test case outputs. What are the white box testing techniques? So there are three white box testing techniques, two, which we are giving in the syllabus. There are many more white box testing techniques. First one is statement coverage and second one is branch coverage. Statement coverage, this technique requires every possible statement in the code to be tested at least once during the testing process of the software engineering. So statement coverage, each and every statement in the code should be at least tested once when we are performing the test case conditions. Second is branch coverage. This technique checks every possible path, that is if, else and other conditional loops for a software application. Different types of looping conditions will be put on that particular code so that the expected outputs are found or not can be checked. That is called as branch coverage. Apart from above, that is from statement coverage and branch coverage, there are numerous coverage types such as condition coverage, multiple condition coverage, path coverage, function coverage. Each technique has its own merits and attempts to test. So there will be different methods, will have different priorities to check the test case. All parts of software code using statement coverage and branch coverage, you generally attain 80 to 90% code coverage, which is sufficient enough. So which are the two main, that is statement coverage and branch coverage. What they do is they contain maximum amount of output which can be driven out or test cases can be applied to it. So example for statement coverage can be applying a normal condition: if A is greater than B, then C is equal to 0, and if, when I'm initializing a value, I am giving it an initialization, I am incrementing it, and I am declaring and I am ending it. So this can be done as a statement coverage, termed as statement coverage. Second one is branch coverage. When I am writing a code, that is read C, read D, if C is greater than D, print D is greater, else print C is greater. That I am comparing two numbers. When I am comparing two numbers, I am writing a flow chart for it, and that flow chart will define those values. So when representation is done in a flow chart format, we can say it's a branch coverage condition, or we can say branch coverage testing. So this completes your chapter 1 with all the parts, that is part 1, part 2 and part 3. If you have any doubts regarding this whole chapter, you can post it in the group. You can ask me questions, as well as you have to go through the whole chapter. If anything is missing, depending on your syllabus which is being provided, you can put questions for that as well.